Hello there and welcome to the Weather Studio Live. It's 1 p.m, it's the 2nd of April and it's a Tuesday. I'm Clare and Alex, meteorologist.
And I'm Alex Deakin. Yes, we're broadcasting to you live from the Met Office. We're live on Periscope and we're live on YouTube. And we've got a packed show for you today in a slightly refurbed studio. There's a bit of work going on. In the future, we're going to have all singing, all dancing new studio. But at the moment, it's a little bit compact. It's a little bit suck it and see, shall we say, this week. But it's good. It's good.
Don't we do that every week?
We do kind of a little bit, yes. Coming up this week, we are talking satellite images, and not just recent satellite images from over almost 60 years ago.
Fascinating stuff, really is. We're also talking about the building blocks of weather, air masses, how they are a precursor to all of us weather forecasters when we're looking to see what the weather's going to do over the next few days. And there's been some interesting changes in air masses over the last 6 weeks or so. We'll be talking about that.
Yes, please do send your questions in to us, say through Periscope or through YouTube. We'll try and answer as many as we can during the course of the show today. We're also going to have a bit of a quiz, aren't we? It's Grand National on Saturday.
Yes.
There's a bit of a horse quiz going on. I'm looking forward to that very much.
Really are. Now, cast your mind back to 1960, Alex. Yes.
I can't quite remember that.
59 years ago. Well, it was a really momentous week. This day, actually, today, the 2nd of April, 1960, in terms of weather. It changed the face of weather forecasting forever, didn't it?
What on earth is this? It looks like an ultrasound.
It does, actually, doesn't it? Well, this was the first weather-dedicated image of clouds from space looking down at Earth.
This is the first satellite picture from a
First
weather satellite image taken on this day back in 1960.
You can't really see where it is or anything, to be honest.
So
but
just about make out the sun of the Earth. I take it the white is cloud.
But even so, there's something called the TIROS project,
Right.
NASA initiative. And it was incredible because it really was something to do with weather forecasting in particular. So satellite imagery from this moment on changed the face how we look at weather and how we forecast weather, not only weather, but also climate. So TIROS stands for Television Infrared Observation Satellite System. It was a program which was actually very, very successful. And within 2 years, there was continuous feed of satellite imagery coming from space. But so by 1962, we saw a lot of this. Now, we weren't forecasting in those days, but things have come forward a lot from those times. So take a look at a modern satellite picture, this one here. And this is how it would have looked back in the day if we were forecasters back in the 60s.
You can see much more pixelated, it's much more blurry, as you suspect. So this was 30, 40, 50 years ago, but this is how, so it's the same image, but this is how it looks now, and this is how it would have looked back then. Very pixelated. You can't really see a lot, you can just about make out, you superimpose the UK over the top of that there as well. Actually, you can see the UK on this image here as well.
But the technology was incredible, really. There were two television cameras.
Just a television camera just mounted up in space.
Yeah, that's right.
What they had
beamed back down.
Absolutely
really clever.
You
but
can see some features. You can see the swirl there, the low pressure system. But on this one, you can actually see individual showers, the speckle there, whereas here it's just a bit blobby. So it wouldn't be as useful, but it would still be useful. Well,
imagine if you'd never ever seen anything like that before, and then bang, one day it's there, and you think, oh, that is what we've been forecasting. It's the bird's eye view. It's the bigger picture.
Yeah, I guess because from before that, you're always looking at the weather from down on the ground up, and now all of a sudden you have this view of clouds and the weather from miles
and things have progressed so much. So back in the day, these were photographs, and all we were looking at is visible images of clouds. But since then, satellite imagery tells us so much more. It gives us thermal patterns, it gives us sea surface temperatures, it gives us the extent of ice sheets from one season to another, land masses, how land masses change, and ozone layers.
It's one of the first things you look at. It's one of the first things you look at to see what the weather's doing and what it might be, but also verification to see whether the weather actually is right at that time. It's like it tells you whether the forecast is going correctly or not, and you can make adjustments given the satellite picture.
I marvel every day. If you look at, say, hurricanes and the eye of the storm, these massive beasts, you can actually see how incredible the weather machine is. But yes, as forecasters, it gives us a lot of information. So this is today's sat pick, isn't it?
And it's a great tool for actually making new discoveries about meteorology as well, about how waves develop, and you know, just to be able to see the form in the showers. If you were just down in Northern Ireland today, it's just shower after shower, but actually there's definite patterns within that, and that gives you a clue about the meteorology that's going on in the skies over your head. So it's amazing. So this is this morning's satellite pitch. You can see that stripe of cloud there. That is a weather front, a cold front, and behind that, just a whole rash of April showers. April really living up to its billing this year. Lots and lots of April showers. Already some of those down to relatively low levels have been of hail, sleet and snow, and there's more to come. But equally, there's some gaps as well, so there's some sunshine. It's a real case of sunshine and showers once this weather front has cleared.
So we've got two air masses here as well, which we can't really see. They are invisible, but the cloud tells us so much about what the nature, what the characteristics of the air is. So we've got one down here, which is a continental air mass, which is being pushed out of the way by this weather front. And then this here is a blast of Arctic air.
Arctic air coming down, and the weather front is the boundary. That's what weather fronts are. They're boundaries between air masses. And we'll have a bit more on air masses in just a moment. But first of all, let's take some questions. Please do keep your questions coming in throughout the programme. We'll try and answer as many as we can.
Thank you very much to Catherine Jenkins fans. This is my favourite time of the week. It's a shame Aidan's not here. Because, you know, it's all about the three of us, isn't it? And obviously the extended team. But thank you very much for that. It's very kind.
Right, Jonathan Winton, looks like some snow is forecast for Northumberland tomorrow morning from 5 till 11. Where can we expect some nice warm area of high pressure to move in? Well, we've had that. We've kind of had that. And at the moment, the forecast is for low pressure to dominate really throughout next week. We'll have more on that in just a moment. Yes, there could be some snow really the next few days on any hills, really. In lower levels, there may be a little bit. We're not going huge amounts. We'll see some, but it's not going to stick around. Interesting fact about April.
Yes.
It's more likely to snow in April than it is in November.
Right.
But it's more likely to have snow lying on the ground in November than April because of the temperature of the ground. So the Earth is warming up at this time of year. So snow doesn't tend to stick around too long in April because it just tends to melt because the ground is that much warmer.
Interesting. It's very good. It's very, very good.
Absolutely fascinating.
Now we're going to talk about air masses. And before we carry on about air masses, Aidan McGivern has a favourite air mass.
Does he?
Yes.
Of course he does.
Yes.
What is his favourite air mass?
It's continental, so it's a continental air mass, so spawned over the continent. And I think he likes tropical continental in the summer.
Does he?
Yes.
He likes heat waves, basically. That's what.
Not all
what's
the time,
your favourite? What's your favourite air mass?
Oh, you know,
Who has
it
a favourite
depends.
air
I like a
mass?
bit of a chopping and changing, which is what's happened over the last few weeks.
Well, that's one of the beauties of UK weather. What are air masses? As you said at the start, very eloquently put, they are the building blocks of meteorology, like the DNA. If you understand air masses, particularly across the UK, you can have a good guess at what the weather's doing. What is air masses? Well, this kind of sums it up. Every wind has its weather. If you know where the wind is blowing from, if you know where your air has come from, then you can have a pretty good stab at guessing what the weather's doing. And if you can look at a pressure chart, then you can see where the air's come from, follow the isobars, and that will then give you a good flavour of what the weather's doing. It's the basics of meteorology, and it's fascinating.
I love it, absolutely love it. And yes, as you say, it gives us a good trend for the next few days. So whether the air contains a lot of heat or not, or whether the air contains a lot of moisture or not.
Yeah, so there are two factors. How moist is the air? How warm is the air? Now, the UK is in quite a good position, almost unique position, because of the islands here, because we've got a big land mass over this side and a big mass of sea over that side. So we've got what we call maritime air coming from the sea over here, and we get continental air, which is obviously a lot drier. And then from the south, you get the warm air, and we call that tropical. And then from the north, it's colder air, and it's called polar. So they're the different types of air masses that we get. These are fundamentally the 6 different kinds that we get across the UK. It's a theory, it's ideological, so obviously the weather doesn't quite always fit into these nice little categories. But as a ballpark, it's a really useful way of understanding the weather across the UK. And some delightful air masses to talk through.
So remember the end of February.
Yes.
It was record-breaking. Temperatures reached
examples.
into the 20s, late February. Do you remember that? It's a dim and distant memory for me, but it was warm at the time. And that's because the air was coming up from the south. It was a tropical air mass. And yes, we saw record-breaking temperatures across many areas. And because the air was coming up from the south, the wind was coming up from the south, would actually forecast where the highest temperatures were going to be, particularly the other side of the mountains where the air is even drier, compression kicks in, and so you get an even higher temperature. And so anywhere from northern Scotland right the way down across England and Wales, we saw some lovely
air was coming up from the south, southwest, tropical, maritime. So it was bringing a lot of cloud because it was quite moist initially, but then it tended to swing around and have a bit more of a continental influence. So it did get a little dry. Again, this is the ideological. It's not always easy to pigeonhole, but basically we had very warm air across the UK, and that's why we saw over 20 degrees for the first time in February, the first time.
That all changed. My goodness, remember beginning of March, it all shifted, didn't it? And it was a shock to the system after the honeymoon, really, of almost springtime weather in February, returning polar maritime air, Alex.
This is a very frequent air mass we get across the UK. Returning polar maritime just means it's spent a bit more time across the Atlantic. It's very moist air, and it brings, as a result, a lot of rain. But it also particularly brings a lot of rain to western areas because it's coming in from the Atlantic. And we can see that with the March statistics. Here is the map of the March rainfall, and you can see that Northern Ireland, Northwest England and Wales in particular just bore the brunt of all that wet weather coming in from the Atlantic, and that was the first half of the month. Incredibly, Northern Ireland broke its record for March in terms of rainfall on something like the 17th or the 18th. And these areas here, these dark blue areas, are places that saw more than twice their monthly average.
Yes, Seathwaite in Cumbria saw over 600 millimetres of rain in the first 16 days, and that was double its monthly average. And so you could almost, it's very hard to predict extremes, but you could suggest this is the trend in the weather with the returning polar maritime. You're going to get most of the rain. This is like in the firing line for that rain coming in from this northwesterly direction with the drier skies towards the southeast. Fast forward to the end.
So that was the first half of the month, and then second half of the month, a switch around again. A lot of the time, certainly for the last week or so, the air was coming up from the south, which is why we had
Kew Gardens 19.8 on the 30th of March, a very, very high temperature, about 7-8 degrees above average. But the interesting thing about March as well, and it is a fascinating month because it's a transitional month, we saw some very low temperatures by night. So the diurnal range stretched from -6 in some places overnight to the high teens by day. So plants are very vulnerable at this time of year because during the daytime solar radiation rises, you feel it's nice and warm, and then temperatures plummet by night, particularly if you've got a dry air mass and no cloud.
Fast forward again to and that's this example of the temperature. So there's March was in the top 10 for warmest on record. Those records again.
And again, because the air was coming in from the near continent, that's why
you can see that warmth there. But most of the UK were at least 1.5 degrees above average, and in the south you can see these temperatures here over 2.5 degrees above the average.
And these stats are only fresh for today, aren't they? They've just come out today, these stats from Dr. Mark McCarthy. And now, early April, what's going on right now? We've just talked about the Arctic air mass.
We saw it on the satellite picture there, the Arctic air mass, the air coming down from the north, really cold air from the Arctic, and it's bringing showers. The air's warming up as it's coming south. That's allowing the convection, the clouds to bubble up, and it brings a lot of showers. It can bring snow in winter, but actually because it's coming from the Arctic, it's reasonably dry. It's very cold air, so it's hard for it to pick up a lot of moisture. So you do get some snow showers with an Arctic air mass, but you usually get the snow showers on exposed coast, areas that are exposed to that northerly flow. It's hard to get widespread unless you get something called a polar low, which brings down the Arctic within it. You tend to get snow showers from this kind of air mass, but you can, of course, get heavier snowfall in an easterly wind. And that is what we're expecting as we go into next week, more of an easterly wind. And when easterly winds, it's polar because it's cold still, but it's continental. It's coming over the land mass that is Europe. But in winter, when you get an easterly wind, obviously you get the beast from the east, it can bring snow depending on how much moisture it picks up over the North Sea. So it can pick up some moisture, it's very cold air, and that's when you can get more widespread snow, particularly across eastern areas. That's what we saw last winter, of course.
But we're in a transitional period. It's springtime, you know, the continent is heating up. So that's why when we look at observations for what's happening across Russia, from Poland, Central Europe, we can see what the air temperature is by day, the dew point as well, which is the temperature when the air is saturated. That gives us a first indication about what's going to happen, the characteristics of the air as it flows from the east towards us, picking up a bit more moisture across the North Sea. So this doesn't look like a really cold air mass next week, does it?
No, polar continental, it has the extremes. In the winter, it's very cold. It gives us a beast from the east. In the summer, it can give us heat waves. But at the moment, because we're in April, we're neither winter nor summer. It's kind of a mishmash. It's kind of a mixture. And actually, the showers will ease a little bit as we go towards the weekend as this easterly wind picks up, as we'll see in a moment. But yes, polar continental.
So Daniel Finch on YouTube's asking, warmer air to draw up from the southeast on Friday?
I'd say less cold. I wouldn't say warmer, but it won't be quite as cold as we go into the weekends because the low pressure system.
Warmer weather towards Easter. Well, sun's getting stronger for a start.
Too early to say. I mean, this week is definitely cold. Next week, there's still a bit of uncertainty about it. It still looks like low pressure will be dominating, so still some April showers in the forecast, but. Again, as we'll see in a moment, low pressure sitting right over us at the moment. That's why we've got so many April showers for the next couple of days. I described it as washing machine weather earlier.
Right.
The low pressure just churning showers. That low pressure heading away a little bit, so it looks a bit drier into the weekend and early next week, but no sign of any high pressure building or any warmer weather returning.
Philip O'Malley says he saw on social media a water spout.
Oh, yes, I saw that as well.
It's on April Fool's Day.
It was on April Fool's Day, but a lot of people have verified it. It looks
massive.
Looks absolutely huge, and it's really interesting the way it tries to interact with land, and it kind of really fizzles out really quickly.
I'd like to know your thoughts on that, whether you saw it and what you think about it.
It is an impressive thing.
Right, this time every year, we're anticipating the Grand National. Now, my family love to put a bet on. I'm not really one of those people, but they always do one for me, and it's always a weather-related name.
Of course.
Yes, of course it is.
Weather-related pump.
Are you somebody? I mean, you've been to the Grand National, haven't you?
I have been to the Grand National, yes. You've been as well. We've been. It is a great event. You know, it's the one day of the year the public really can get behind horse racing, and yes, often weather-related horses are running, and some of them do quite well.
Some of them do quite well. And is it worth looking at the weather-related horses for this year to see whether they will actually win or not? Well, let's have a look at the odds and see what's happened over the last few years. Alex, I'm going to ask you a few questions.
This is the quiz, is it?
This is the quiz. I'm going to show you some weather names, weather horses that ran, and you are going to say yay, they finished, or nay, they...
See what you've done there. Yay or nay. This is genius. This is genius. Thunder and Roses.
Yes.
So it ran in 2017.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it did finish in 2007. So I'm going to say yay, 2017. And it's got a strong name. I think it's a good horse. I reckon it finished both. I'm going to say yay, a double yay.
It was a double nay.
What?
Nay.
Nay?
Yes.
So it didn't finish in 2017.
No.
Still, you've got to admire its courage.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, really good. Well done, Thunder and Roses. Now, let's go back to 2016, and we had many clouds.
I remember many clouds.
15. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, OK, so you know what happened in 2015.
I think it did well. I think it finished. I'm going to say yay.
Yay. It not only finished, it won.
I was going to say,
yeah. So now the odds are rising in favour of maybe a weather-related racehorse name. Because, yes, one did win in 2015. Did it win in 2016?
I don't think it won in 2016.
It was last to complete.
But it did finish.
It did finish.
So double yay to many clouds.
We're almost there. We are almost there.
This is great.
OK, the Rainbow
That's a good name.
But I'm just going to give you a clue behind.
Oh, I'm going to say nay.
Nay. It was a nay. It did not finish, sadly.
Oh.
And then
still hunting for those rainbows. We got distracted maybe by a shower and started hunting.
Auroras and Coasts. Oh, it's a lovely name.
That is a good name. 2013. Strong name. That is a horse that finished.
It not only finished, it won by 9 lengths.
Really?
So, yes. So 2 out of 6. We've got winners here for weather-related names. And finally, Midnight Haze 2012.
Do you get haze at midnight? I mean,
it's a hazy. It's hazy.
I'm going to say nay.
Yeah, it was a yay. It was last to complete.
Okay. Came last though.
So this year we've got Magic of Light and Blow by Blow, our weather-related names. Good luck to the runners and the riders and everyone who's heading to Aintree.
Heavy showers for the next few days. Yeah. Of course, the racing starts.
The going's going to be a bit.
It will get a bit stickier, I suspect. Although Saturday itself, maybe a shower, and Friday looks largely dry, but some heavy downpours over the next couple of days could soften up the ground. Pick a big horse. That's my top tip. Always pick a big horse.
Always pick a big pause. Robert Taylor saying it's only 6 degrees in Aberdeen today.
Yes.
Oh, that's parky,
that is
isn't
cold,
it? It really
that
is.
is cold.
Nigel Clifford, will it snow this April in the south over the next few weeks? Well, Pennine districts will get some snow over the next 24 hours. Welsh mountains as well, maybe to lower levels in any heavier bursts across western Scotland. And really the name of the game is blustery showers, hail and thunder, extending right down the western side of the country. So wintry precipitation, not particularly a lot of snow, but over the Welsh mountains we could see some.
6 degrees in Aberdeen today compared to what was probably 16 a week ago. It dropped by about 10 degrees over the last week. Do keep sending your questions in.
Yeah, let's look at the weather for the week ahead, actually, into next week, because, you know, no wonder we're confused as a race, because it's always changing, isn't it? And we've just got used to some lovely sunshine yesterday across much of the southern parts of
Let's
England
take a
and
look.
Wales.
High up in the atmosphere.
Not today.
This is the jet stream coming out of North America. It's got this really long arches going up over Greenland, and then it's driving south. It's in a very strange position, and you get kind of this cut-off position. It's like a horseshoe, isn't it? It's like a horseshoe, keeping with the Aintree theme. And then in there, if we put the temperatures on, we've got this cold air, so it's turned colder. It's got this little cold pool. Let's zoom in so we can see that a little bit better. And in there, we've got an area of low pressure. Let's rewind and show the bigger picture again, just with the pressure. So you can see there's low pressure. You can see the jet stream has just allowed this cut off, and this low pressure system, which is just sitting across the UK. Talked about washing machine weather, and this low is just going to spiral across the UK, bringing bands of showers in. And the air is cold enough for those showers to have hail, to have sleet to relatively low levels, and as you mentioned, some snow.
What about wind chill as well? Because that was quite a squeeze.
Where the isobars are squeezed together, it will be blustery. So let's put the rainfall on, and let's go through. This is Wednesday, so this is tomorrow. You can see some white blobs on that. And what happens is the low pressure actually starts to move across. So the showers mostly in the east on Wednesday, and then the low pressure system bringing more frequent showers across western areas during Thursday. So basically it's showers for the next couple of days. Classic April showers, some gusty winds, and it's going to feel colder. Temperatures may just about in places get to double figures, but it's going to feel colder than that. And when showers come along, of course, temperatures take a big drop.
What about by night?
Because well, yeah, any clear skies, if the winds fall light, there will be further frost. Gardeners take note. And let's fast forward now through Thursday and Friday. But if we take a look at the bigger picture, you can actually see that the low pressure during Friday starts to scoot away. So we've still got the cold air in place across the UK. We put that on. But it's actually getting a little bit milder through Friday and into the weekend, and the low pressure is heading away. So instead of sitting right over us, by the time we get to the weekend, the low pressure is sitting much more down to the southwest. So it's southwestern areas that will see lots of showers. There'll be some coming through on that easterly wind that we talked about earlier on. The easterly wind as we go through into next week and into Sunday, we've got kind of that easterly flow. So we've got a proper polar continental air feed into next week. So the longer, well, the short term, heavy showers next few days, it's April. But as we go through Friday, Saturday and Sunday, there'll still be some showers, but there won't be as many. There won't be as many downpours, and it will slowly turn a little bit milder as well. And that's kind of the outlook as we go into next week. And next week, of course, is start the Easter holidays.
Oh, yes, it is. Yes.
To this.
This is great, actually. If you want to do something with your kids next week and you want to be out and about, this is a great campaign. Surfers Against Sewage, we associate with them at the Met Office, we support them. And this next week is the Big Spring Beach Clean. It's a summit to see. It's all about getting to the beach and just picking up the rubbish and just clearing the shorelines of all that plastic and everything else which accumulates through many, many months from tidal distribution, but also from people just chucking it on the beach, which is a dreadful thing. So yes, take a look at the website. The website's got loads of details about which beaches there are campaigns to go and arrive and just be all together as a team and clean up the shoreline. I think it's a great thing to do.
So that's next week.
Yeah, weather-wise, it's going to be a bit hit and miss, but you know, obviously keep an eye on our forecast as well. And more details about the Surfers Against Sewage campaign on our Weather Snap next Wednesday, and there's one coming out tomorrow as well. Weather Snap
what's
podcast.
On tomorrow's? We're talking satellite images.
Well, yes, we are. We're talking about air masses as well, and obviously the 10-day trends, which Aidan will be broadcasting tomorrow, but he'll be talking about that on the podcast.
And you can watch that on YouTube. There's also our YouTube sister channel, Learn About Weather. There's all kinds of really interesting videos on there. Air masses, you can learn more about those on there. And of course, we're across everything else on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and Snapchat as well.
So what's your favourite air mass?
I'm kind of with tropical continental, I think.
Yeah.
I like a bit of warmth.
Do you? Yeah, I'm a tropical maritime girl myself. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Sorry about the confined sort of space here. All back to normal in the next few weeks. Hence the reason why I haven't got a guest
Well,
this
you say
week.
back to normal, but I think it's going to be, it's going to be even better. We're doing this refurb, so things can be even better in the future. Can I just say, actually, on that note, a big special thank you to everyone who helps out with this show. It's not just the presenters that you see, but a lot of people behind the scenes. Steve Fallon, Adrian Holloway, Simon Hammett, and George as well. George Burling, who helps with the questions. So a big thanks to everyone else.
And thank you to Aidan, who's sending us the questions from up there somewhere.
Yes, he will be back next week.
Yes.
And yes, we'll see you then.